Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the greatest recordings ever. And today we're talking about opera. Yes, opera, but not your average everyday opera. I'm talking about the greatest recording ever of an opera, and something you probably don't know as well as you should. Verdi's Simon Boccanegra, or Simon Boccanegra. Here he is with Claudio Abbado and the La Scala Orchestra with an amazing cast. Incredible cast. It's, let's see, Piero Cappuccilli, Mirella Freni, Nikolai Gyarov, Jose Carreras, Jose Van Dam, and some other people we don't really care about. Wow, what a cast. It doesn't get any better than that. You know, Abbado did a bunch of opera recordings at La Scala that were extraordinary, really pace-setting, for the works. And nothing is greater than this. He also did some horrible ones too, by the way. Dreadful, like Aida. Terrible. But this was amazing, and it established an entirely new standard for the work. It really did. There had not been many recordings of Simone Boccanegra. Schulte did one in digital after this that was And then there was an earlier EMI one with Tito Gobbi, which was quite good. But, it was older and much older. And boy, the sound and the playing and the singing, he just makes a masterpiece out of the piece, which it really kind of is. I mean, it's a remarkable work. It was written, it's a middle period Verdi work that was updated and revised because Verdi and Boito believed in it. And he had Boito as the librettist, remember, for Otello and for Falstaff, fix it so that it's half earlier Verdi or middle Verdi and half late Verdi. But it doesn't matter so much because Verdi's style is consistent throughout his career, basically. And so, it's not like Wagner where the new stuff sits uneasily on top of the old stuff. You're very conscious of there being two separate, stylistic, things at work and two separate concepts of pacing. Verdi isn't like that. Verdi stuck to his guns and just refined and refined and refined as he got older. And so what you wind up with is music that is really compelling, where the libretto is most compelling and which is right for the rest of it. Let's put it that way. So it's gorgeous. Now, the plot makes no sense at all. And I really think as a public service, I need to go through the synopsis so you know what is happening in this silly opera. It is a little bit crazy because all the characters, there's a prologue and then the rest of it's like 20 years later and no one knows who anyone is. And let me see if there's a synopsis in here, if they gave it to us. Abbado on Simone Boccanegra. Now there's a note from the original program. Abbado conducts. Yeah, we know that. Synopsis. Okay, get ready. A square in Genoa. The prologue takes place in Genoa in 1339. The main action is 25 years later. This is what you have to remember, because some of the same characters are around, but they all are in disguise. Okay, never mind. Let's just get to it. After a brief orchestral prelude, which is gorgeous and which sounds like Brahms, you're not going to believe it's Verdi. Believe me, just listen to it. It's incredible. The curtain rises on a square in Genoa. The church of San Lorenzo is in the background and the Fieschi Palace to the right. It is night, and Paolo Albiani, a Genoese goldsmith and leader of the plebeian party, is discovered in conversation with Pietro, another powerful plebeian. They are discussing the coming elections of a doge in English, what the hell. And both men wish to overthrow the power of the patricians by nominating a plebeian candidate for this high office. What did you say? Asked Paolo. Elect as doge the usurer Lorenzino? Yeah. Suggest someone else more worthy than he, replies Pietro. And Paolo proposes, Pietro and Paolo proposes, a little alliteration there, quote, that the brave man who chased the African pirates from our seas and restored to the Ligurian flag its proud ancient glory. I follow you, says Pietro. And he undertakes that in return for gold, power, and position for himself, he will ensure the popular vote for Simone Boccanegra. Boccanegra enters and asks why he has been sent for Paolo sent for. Paolo repeats to him his proposal, and at first Boccanegra thinks he's mad. Then Paolo tells him that when he is Doge, no one will be able to refuse him anything. He reminds him of Maria, daughter of Fiesco, with whom he has had an illegitimate daughter, and Paolo suggests that as Doge he will be able to marry her. Okay, so there's an illegitimate daughter hopping around here. Remember that. That's going to matter. Simon agrees to stand as plebeian candidate. Pietro and a group of citizens now arrive, and he persuades them to vote not for Lorenzino, but for a man of the people. That's Boccanegra. So they do that for a while. The crowd departs, and Jacopo Fiesco, a Genoese nobleman and leader of the patricians, makes his way sadly from the Fieschi palace. He bids farewell to the proud palace, which has now become the cold sepulchre of his beloved daughter Maria, the one who had the baby with Boccanegra. He curses his daughter's seducer and talks of the broken spirit of a father who knows the torment and shame of sorrow. Boccanegra, ignorant of what has happened to his beloved Maria and anticipating that they will shortly be reunited, enters. He is confronted by Fiesco, who does not tell him of Maria's death, but instead turns on him in fury. Boccanegra offers his life to Fiesco, but the latter tells him he will forgive him if he hands over into his care the daughter that Maria bore. Okay. Boccanegra tells Fiesco that this is impossible and relates how one day, returning to Pisa, where the child was growing up, looked after by an old nurse, he learned that the old woman had died. The child, wretched and alone, had vanished after 3 days of weeping and wandering, and he had sought her in vain ever since. Fiesco replies that if Boccanegra cannot do as he asks, there never can be peace between them. As Fiesco retires into the shadows, Simon makes his way to the palace. He knocks at the door, but there is silence. He enters the palace. His voice is heard crying, "Maria, Maria! The hour of retribution has struck!" exclaims Fiesco. And as day breaks, the square fills with the populace acclaiming Boccanegra as Doge. Get it? So that's the prologue. Now, 25 years later, and they have to explain this a little bit. 25 years have elapsed between the prologue and the first act of the opera. During this period, a number of important events have taken place. The Doge has exiled many of his political opponents and confiscated their property. Fiesco has been living for many years at the Grimaldi's palace outside Genoa under the name of Andrea. See, all their names change. Amelia's guardian. Andrea is Amelia's guardian. Guess who Amelia is? Yes, but he doesn't know that. The daughter of Count Grimaldi had died in a convent in Pisa, and on the day she died, a foundling was discovered in the grounds of the convent and brought up in her place. Adopted by Andrea Fiesco, she was given the name of Amelia Grimaldi in order to protect the property of the Grimaldi family when they were exiled for political conspiracy. In reality, Amelia is Maria Boccanegra, the daughter of Simon, and Maria, Fiesco's daughter, who had died. Fiesco doesn't know this, nor does Simon. Amelia Maria is loved by a young Genoese nobleman, Gabriele Adorno, who is the only person who knows that Andrea and Fiesco are one and the same person. Together they have been plotting against the Doge. Okay, I can stop here because it just keeps going endlessly. The bottom line is everybody dies. I mean, at the end, more or less. And there's a fabulous scene, the council chamber scene, where everybody curses everybody else, not realizing that the people that they're cursing are really the people that if they knew who they really were, they wouldn't be cursing them at all. And it's fabulous. That's all you need to know, is that it's fabulous. But you get a sense of why the whole thing got confusing. And originally, in the original version, it's a little clearer. Boito added wonderful lines, and Verdi wrote amazing music, but that didn't make the plot any less complicated. And I happen to love this plot. It is a real soap opera of a plot. And if you savor it, as I do, then you will have no problem, dealing with the opera as a whole. But one thing you should be able to savor, whether you get it or don't get it, is this stunning performance by Claudio Abbado with Scala forces and an amazing cast. Certainly one of the greatest recordings ever. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me and letting me drone on through that. And I just got through the prologue. And it's not a long opera. Wait a minute. Before we end, let me just see this. It should tell us how long it is. It's like 2 hours or something like that. I mean, it's just not a long opera, considering how much stuff they have to get through. Never mind. It's glorious. Just glorious. Take care.